Good evening, folks. My guest for tonight is a very brave and courageous lady from India, Era. So we'll listen her story today. And this video is not for medical treatment or diagnosis, or before you shift your paradigm to treat yourself. On the basis of this video, we'll advise you to please visit your doctors, your physician before making any change in your treatment. So I'm talking about Ira, who is a very brave and courageous lady. So before we kick in today's session, I want Ira to introduce yourself, your personal and professional background.
Yeah, hi, Dr. Dijan Mansoor, and thank you for having me. My name is Veera Sahai. I'm a low carb nutrition coach, metabolic health coach. I'm a member of D-Life, which is India's largest and the fastest and the only award-winning low carb community. Um, I came into nutrition and became a low carb nutritionist after I had an experience with a autoimmune of the kidney, which is called membranous nephropathy, and which was, in short, cured on a carnivore. So this is a very short introduction of me, and that's how I'm here talking to you.
So I wanted to tell the people like who you are, what's your background, like what are you in? As I know you are a low carb coach right now, but what's your background then, and how did you wind up? And I want your story first, like who you are.
Okay, so I have a media background. I have been an editor with the Times of India, DNA, and many other publications and digital media. And the story goes like this, that in 2021, September 30th, I got my second dose of the vaccination, which was touted to be very safe. Maybe it was. Um, so 30th September, I got my second dose. And within 2 days, my body started swelling up, filling up with water. I had never had a situation like this before in my life. About my background, I'm an athlete. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo. I played basketball, badminton, and I'm also a trained Kathak dancer. So I have always been a very healthy kid, even as a teenager and even now. So cold, cough, fever, or any kind of ailment. No cold, cough, fever as well. It was very, very rare. Always was interested into in nutrition, into what I ate, fitness, and stuff like that. So kept myself very well and never had an ailment, never felt sick as such. So when I went for my second vaccination dose, and that was under huge pressure from family and everybody else. 30th September, as I told you, was the second dose, and within 2 days, my body started swelling up. On the 7th of October, I had gone out for some work, and I was talking to a few people. Um, when I suddenly started feeling heat, behind my head and all of that, and I couldn't see anything else. I mean, couldn't see anything in front of me. I started blacking out. I knew exactly in that moment something is happening, but I had never blacked out before. So it was a new experience for me. And before I could realize, I had come down the road. I'd fallen and fallen. I have very faint recollection of some vague sound that was coming to me, but I just couldn't move myself up, call for help, or to move myself and get up on my own, or even talk, or even open my eyes. So I don't know which world I was in. It almost felt like being dead. I knew something has happened, and this is going to be an impending hell, maybe, because you don't just faint on the road like that one fine day. So, luckily for me, I had fallen on the side of the road, and people did notice after maybe 2 or 5 minutes. And I was absolutely limp. Then the vision started coming back, and I could hear better. And good sense prevailed. They made me sit down and gave me some water from nearby. And I just didn't know what to do. I was shocked. I was numbed. I had nothing to say. And I live by myself, so I luckily I was not driving that day. They sat me down in a rickshaw. I came back home. Even climbing, even getting into the lift to come to my floor, the moment the doors of the lift closed, I felt this is the end of my life. I had palpitation. I had deep-seated kind of scare and the realization that something major has happened to me. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'll not make it to the floor that I live on. It was a long journey. Must have taken about 20 seconds to come up here, but it seemed like maybe 2 hours. I came home, I opened the door, I came home. I just knew that I had to do something. While I didn't have the energy to, quite bring myself up to do much, I just went into the kitchen and I drank salt, sugar, and water and just slept for hours. And it was exactly the same time, around the same time when in India we celebrate the Durga Puja or Dashera. And now we are in October, around the same time, maybe 10 days back. So, yeah, 7th of October. I got up about 4, 5 hours later and I called for help. And my neighbor, the doctor who is nearby, she came and the only thing she said was, your BP is dangerously low. And I was supposed to fly to Bangalore 2 days later to my brother. I called him. I told him that such a thing had happened, although I had not informed my parents. And the moment I landed in Bangalore, which was the 9th of October, 2021, he took me straight to the hospital where I was tested thoroughly. Everything I think was done because they had to zero in on the cause. Why was there a swelling? And by that time, there was massive swelling in my entire body. When I walked, it pained because it was as if packets of water had been stuffed inside my body, and it moved as I walked. So naturally, when something is moving inside you, it is painful. I didn't know what's happening or what's going to happen. Uh, so my brother took me to the hospital for 2, 3 days, even more than that. We kept testing and testing and testing. And finally, they zeroed in on the fact that I have the autoimmune. Then probably, I think, yeah, yes. First, they came to the conclusion that I have the autoimmune of the kidneys, which they called membranous nephropathy. And then I was also made to do a kidney biopsy to see how much damage has been done and what is the condition or everything. So the normal protein that leaks in the urine or that should be in the urine is about 50 to 100 mg. My protein urea was 7,600 plus mg. It was massive, and although it was just 9 days since my last vaccination, but I noticed 2, 3 things that were happening with me. One was the froth in the urine, and my hair started coming out. So every time I would comb my hair, a bunch of it would come out. And very quickly, because I was losing so much protein and nobody had an idea, nobody, knew what this is. And I was like, I was in a trance. I didn't know what's happening to my body. I don't know what stage I am at. I don't know if I'll live to see the next Durga Puja or the Dashera. I didn't know if I would survive. But I kept up a brave pace, and 7,600 protein urea was massive. And there was a team of doctors who were attending to me. And I asked them, what does this mean for me? And they told me, we will try steroids. But if that doesn't work, then kidney transplants are the only way forward. And I knew about the kidney transplant jig because I'd seen a few people go through that, and it becomes a big mess. You don't know if you'll make not through all that mess. If you'll kind of really be functional, survive. So that was the call the doctors wanted me to take. If this autoimmune doesn't reverse or stop on its own, because 7,600 mg of proteinuria was huge, 76 times more than the normal thing. So a kidney biopsy was done, and the same conclusion. As a person who was affected emotionally more than physically, I had a lot of physical discomfort, because even by that time my body was swelled up. So they put me on a tablet, which is Lasix, which is to drain off the water from my body. And that was the only medication they gave me. And I didn't understand what needs to be done. Draining water from my body every day, taking that tablet twice, isn't a solution. There has to be some solution. Or tell me that I have reached the end of, you know, the line with my life, or the end of the road. So, but there was no clear indication, except for the fact that I'm headed for a kidney transplant if this doesn't stop. Um, so that is it. This is the story in short, and that's how I was detected with membranous nephropathy. And whatever happened thereafter was the turning point of my life.
So here's the catch. So a very young lady, who has no history of family background of any chronic disease, or she has not been diagnosed with any sort of disease before. Who is a athlete, and who has been active her entire life, and suddenly out of nowhere she's diagnosed with glomerulus membranous nephropathy. It's a kidney disease where your kidney your kidney cannot handle the protein, and that soaks into your urine. So we call this a macroalbuminuria or proteinuria. So it was 7,000 plus of protein in your urine. So you had a kidney biopsy. And then at the end of the day, your diagnosis was you have membranous nephropathy, and your options were either you go for a dialysis. If the steroid does not work, you go for a dialysis, or you go for a kidney transplant. I can totally put myself into your shoes, the trauma of being told to a very young lady that you will wind up having a dialysis or a kidney transplant. So now the point is that what did you do after that? Did you go with the conventional way of treatment that you has been advised to doctors, or did it take some time? And how did you wind up treating yourself?
Hmm. So that was the turning point. As I said, that was the first half of the story. That ended with me trying to find answers to what can be done. So if you are saying that if this doesn't stop, if the doctor is saying that if this doesn't stop, we are headed for a kidney transplant, I wanted to know what is the method, what is the path to stop. I was willing to do that. But unfortunately, there was no protocol given by the doctor in terms of what I could do. That baffled me a bit, because if you're saying that I have a disease, I have an ailment in my body, there must surely be some way that I could either stop it, delay it, or reverse it. So I had none of these, told to me. And I kept asking this again and again to all my doctors. So there were about 5, 6 doctors. And not only that, then I came back to Bombay. Uh, I stayed there for a month maybe, and in the interim, what I felt was it continued, the hair falling off, and my face had become so skeletal. I had lost all protein from my face, and it had become bony. The nose would like stand out as if, in a skeleton. So that was how I looked, and I cried looking at myself. I hated looking at it. I didn't know. I mean, where was I going? So I asked the doctor what can be done, and he said nothing. You only can hope for it to kind of stop or get better. If that doesn't happen, then a kidney. And that was kind of a very ambiguous answer to me. So I asked him, "Is there anything I can do on the diet part?" My uh, common sense was that if 7,600 mg of proteinuria of protein is being drained from my body, and it is making me look like this, and giving me constant blackouts, there has to be some way to put that protein back into my body, if logically speaking. If I'm losing that protein, I will come to no harm if I put that protein back into my body. But the medical protocol says protein is dangerous for kidneys. High protein is dangerous for the kidneys. And that was the messaging around. So I asked the doctor clearly, what about protein? Because I am draining protein and I'm looking skeletal. My hair is going. So he said, no, protein, you cannot have high. So I said, so what is the dietary protocol for me? They said, less salt. So I asked him, is this a less salt problem that's taking me to a dialysis or to a kidney transplant? If I take less salt, will this reverse it? He, of course, didn't have an answer. And pretty much no dietary protocol was given to me. I mean, on his own, he said nothing. So I wanted to know just protein. And I must have asked that about 15 times to various doctors. They would all talk about medicine. They would all talk about, let's hope this stops. If not, this happens. But nobody talked about the diet part. Now, if there is no treatment to this situation and you're not giving me medication as such, except for draining water out of my body, there has to be something on the diet part that can be done. And that protocol was absent. So I came back to Bombay, where I was on my own and I was staring into kind of a dark tunnel at the end of which I didn't see any light. And it was kind of a do or a die situation for me because I was not surrounded with people. I am not a person who would kind of consult 10 people. Of course, I consulted many doctors across 4 cities, and they all had the same opinion pretty much. So I kept testing and all that. They said, keep testing and hope it kind of stops. So then I had dived into research, into everything kidney, everything membranous nephropathy. I was fixed on the fact that I have to get this protein back into my body. The journey started from that thought. I didn't know carnivore. I didn't know low carb. I didn't know. Of course, I knew that low carb is a better diet than high carb, but just as anybody else would know, as maybe an aware person on nutrition or diet would know. So my thought was, how do I get this protein back into my body? And there was only one goal because I was looking absolutely skeletal. I was looking scary. I was probably looking like an 80-year-old with bones sticking out of my face. Nothing to hold my face. It was all bones. And then I figured out the conclusion was that I have to take about more than my body weight. The protein intake should be more than my body weight, maybe double also, because there's a huge gap between what is being lost and what I'm having in my regular meal. So, although belonging to a hardcore carnivore family, my dad is in films, so we've always kind of maintained a very good body. But I, having lived on my own, I experimented with some being vegetarian. And then I was also initiated into a spiritual path, which is the Nath Sampradaya. In Nepal, also, you would know because Nath Sampradaya originated and has a lot of roots in Nepal as well, Pashupatinath and all. So my spiritual journey began, but that was not one of the criterias based upon which I turned vegetarian. It was just an idea, and I tried to give it a shot. Uh, so till membranous nephropathy happened, even though I come from a hardcore carnivore background, I was a vegetarian, and I figured out that I'm dancing all around the place, but I'm not able to meet my protein requirement on a vegetarian diet. I hated paneer every day. I mean, I would probably, if you give me paneer to eat maybe 3, 4 days in a row, I would probably puke. But I still kept eating it as a medicine. I assorted 10,000 things on my plate just to meet that requirement and kept reading about things, what to eat, what not to eat. And then I realized, uh, the absolute magic of meat, which I had always eaten as a child. And I hated myself at that point of time uh, because of the fact that I gave it up somehow. Nobody else did, just I did. So I and then looking at the nutrition that the meat provides, everything, the protein requirement would be met, and there's just one dish on your plate, just one big piece of meat on your plate, and that does the job instead of doing paneer and dahi and cheese and this and that. So I, at that point, uh, decided to go back to my roots and eat the way I had always been eating as a child. So in India, people would probably eat meat, maybe chicken or fish once or twice a day. My dad would eat it every day. And even if we didn't eat it, there was either the butcher or the fish vendor who would come and just keep dumping meat, at our house. So it was all marinated and kept in the fridge by the staff. And, it was that kind of, so meat was plenty. So I decided to go back to my roots and eat the way my dad did. And that started my carnivore journey. I was still having some dairy. And after 1 year, then in between, I started noticing changes that happened to me. Once I was on a carnivore diet and I started reading because by that time, I had decided I am not taking the vegetarian route for protein because it is too much of an effort for me. People who do that, they have my respect, but I cannot. So I noticed, and maybe in a month as well, that the skin had started somewhat coming back to normal. Although it was skeletal, it would take time, but it was fast coming back to normal. Now my hair that was falling in bunches, the fall was a little less. The moment I would stand up, I felt, the world rotating and the blackout coming back every time. That started going down. The frequency started going down. And just within a few months, the magic of carnivore happened. I was feeling energetic. I was feeling better. I was feeling full. And kind of a new world opened for me where I was eating. And then as I read more about it, I came across the concept of intermittent fasting. So the people that I read on the way, or the people that I followed on the way, Dr. Jason Fung, Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Sean Baker, Dr. David Unwin, Anup Singh, and Shashi. So I came to all of these people. I didn't know any of them. They were new for me. Somehow every tweet they put out, it was kind of a torch in my face, as if somebody had shown me the light. And I frantically followed them to see if I can get anything from them. And I did. And I was doing my own research as well. So that's how it all kind of came together, over a period of 1 year, maybe. Before that, intermittent fasting I started after I became carnivore. And I think within a period of 1.5 to 2 months, I absolutely, kind of head dived into intermittent fasting, and I never kind of craved food. And then I started seeing the magic of carnivore. I mean, how much effort do you put on controlling your craving, counting calories, stuff like that? I was not doing any of those, fasting like a pro, eating so much, feeling better, and my face looking better, my skin looking better, my hair coming back.
So,
And I knew something right is happening inside my body.
Sarah, despite of like having a kidney disease, like you had a membranous nephropathy, and despite of all the conventional, you embark yourself on a carnivore diet, and
Yeah.
you added intermittent fasting. Could you be more specific? What did you eat on carnivore diet? Like what was your main diet?
Yeah. So as I researched, I came to the conclusion, it was set for me, it was final for me that I would be on a meat-based diet. I tried to find out if eggs were carnivore or not. And I came to the conclusion eggs are carnivore. It is part of the carnivore diet. What else could be a part of the carnivore diet? Because initially I feared monotony. But then there was never a dull day because I never felt like eating anything more than what I was eating. So my typical meal would be I started with 3 meals because the concept of breakfast. I would have eggs, and then I would have some meat in lunch, and I would have some meat. I was always an early eater, so about 6:37 in the evening, I would finish my third meal. And very soon, I think within just 1 week, I didn't feel like having my breakfast. And then that was also the time when I came across, or I was coming across, intermittent fasting. So I said, why not try this? And why not go on meals? If I'm not feeling like it, I shouldn't be eating. So three meals became 2 meals. And I think in a few months, I kind of championed to the level of doing OMAD. And I had never been so satiated in my life. I've never loved food like that in my life. I had never thought being in shape or never counting calories is going to be so easy. And that is the secondary part. But the changes that I was noticing in my body, they were very, very fast. So the typical 2 meals would be just meat and uh, uh, dairy initially. I would have some dahi, and I had quit grains by then. So no grains, no fruits, no vegetables, no pulses, legumes, nothing. I didn't feel the need to. I never craved them. So the first meal would be around uh, 11 or 12, and would have meat and some dahi. And I'm a red meat lover. I'm not a chicken person, so I would like eat lamb meat, goat meat with lots of fats. And the second meal the same, or fatty fish. I love seafood
You
and
added
I love
you
red
added,
meat.
you added fish as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So how long you were on carnivore diet before you did your next test? And that is the catch. Like,
So I began my carnivore diet after maybe 1 month from being detected with membranous nephropathy, because that much time I took to research, that much time I took to juggle with paneer and dahi and cheese and the vegetarian way. After 1.5 months, I assume, if I remember correctly, I had become a carnivore, and I just went on evolving myself more and more and more, and quitting one thing after the other. Grains gone, legumes gone, pulses gone, vegetables gone, fruits gone, and the last cake was dairy gone. Even the upper end of it, of the carnivore, now I don't even cook in ghee and butter. I just use goat tallow. I make my own goat tallow, and it's just meat and salt for me. And I was just discussing with one of my mentors, Arun sir, today, that just a bit of maybe haldi, that's it, and I love it with green chili. So I am now on a pure carnivore diet. That's just meat and fatty meat and salt.
so
So
when was your next test done?
so that was done exactly. I mean, the next test was since they had asked me to keep testing myself, so I got tests done in between, and they still showed there was a leak, but over a period of time, over 1 month. Now this is a gap of 1 month from 21 to 22, and I saw that number going down very fast. And more on the number, it was my body that was telling me that I'm better, and I'm becoming, every day is a new day. I'm getting. So in 22, I again went to Bangalore. I got the checkup done at the same hospital with the same doctor. The same tests were done. And the doctor was kind of shocked to see the reports, because I had left them 1 year back with the thought that the next thing would be a kidney transplant. And here I was after a year with the same doctor sitting with me, and he goes through my reports. And I was very eager to meet him actually. And he goes through my reports and he writes that membranous nephropathy has gone into remission,
The remission.
auto remission, spontaneous remission. So I asked him, I knew what he meant. So I asked him, I said, what is spontaneous remission? So he was, no, it has kind of reversed. I did tell him about my dad because he asked, what have you been doing? So I told him, I said, nobody gave me the protein protocol. That was the first thing that should have been given to me, and I would have loved it from you. And this is the research that I came across. And the normal messaging is that protein is damaging to the kidney. Here, my kidneys were damaged, and high protein cured them. And not only high protein, it is out and out a meat diet. It's a carnivore diet that actually cured me. Here goes the myth, or here is the agenda busted. Because anybody telling me that protein damages kidney, I am a live example. My kidneys were damaged. And the reverse, on a high protein, specifically on a meat-based diet.
So what was like the final decision, right? Is auto remission, right?
Yeah, it is spontaneous. The
Remission.
autoimmune has gone into spontaneous remission.
Did you ask how? How did
I asked him, so he asked me, what have you been doing?
okay.
So that's how I told him. I said, you just gave me the salt protocol. I would have loved to have any kind of dietary protocol. I would have probably followed that. But thank you for not giving that to me, because I would have not found it out myself. It was a leap of faith that I took, going against the medical advice, the conventional medical, non-responsive advice that says, don't take high protein in kidney health. And here my kidneys were damaged, and I went on a high protein, and I specifically only ate meat and high fat, and I've lost weight, and I
So
lost the ailment.
technically you were about to destroy your kidney because you had a kidney disease and you were on a high protein diet, and not even a high protein, a too high protein, because you were on a carnivore diet. All you can eat was egg, fish, meats, and some dairies. That is typically your food. So what ends well is always well for me. So what I want to tell you that Ira, you're I in the beginning I introduced you as saying Ira is a very brave and courageous lady. This is why I admire you and I adore you, because you're I know you were very alone at that time, and being such a young lady and diagnosed with kidney disease, and then you had an option of kidney transplant, and then you took one step ahead. You think outside of the box. I know it was totally dark for you because you know nothing. You have no background you don't have a medicine background. You're not even you don't know what to do that time because you're totally alone that time. But you the way you took your decision, the way you treated your body, because nobody knows better than you what your body needs and how your body needs and how do you feel. So I keep on telling my patient as well, the only one person who knows about their body is you. You know better than you. When you have a food, either your food reacts or your food respond. And a lot of people have no idea how does the food react and how the food respond. React is not a good thing, but respond is a very good thing. And you can figure it out in 3 to 4 days or maximum in 1 week or 2 weeks. And you did the same thing. And I thoroughly admire you for your decision. And I don't other things don't matter to me. The things that matter is that you are of like disease free today. You are healthy, and you have no more. You put your nephropathy into remission, and you're looking much beautiful than before. You gain your strength, and now you are a low carb coach, and that is. I'm not telling you this because we are in a low carb community. I'm telling you this because you did something, you proved something, and you took a step ahead, and step by step you prove it that this is what worked for me. So I always tell the people, you should find out what works for you. Maybe it doesn't work for someone else. That doesn't mean it's not going to work for somebody else. But you know your body, so you should find for yourself, fight for yourself. And the way you proved yourself, Era, is so adorable, and not only adorable, is so commendable for me. Like, you did a great job, and maybe hundreds and thousands of people will watch this story, and I told in the beginning, this is not a medical this is not a medical diagnosis or treatment video. It's an informative video just for public awareness videos. So before doing any diagnosis or treatment on the basis of these videos, viewer discretion advice, please visit your physician or your doctor before you do shift your paradigm for treatment for your disease. So, Era, I would like to say thank you so much for your time. And as I told in the beginning, you're very brave and very courageous. And you, as you said, you busted a myth as well. And I wish you a very, very good luck and a very good health in the near future, just the way you are right now. So what is your message for
I
the
just
people who are listening to you?
is always stand with the truth. I mean, I would have loved the protocol from the doctor. It kind of broke my heart that, to be so in awe of this profession. We look up to doctors. We go there to get remission or to get better. But when you are not given a protocol, when you have not given, shown the path, then you're pretty much left on your own. That's a scary situation. Everybody may be as lucky as I am. I did a lot of research. Luckily, I found my way out of it. But I always sit and imagine the hundreds and thousands of people who follow the medical protocol. What happens to their faith, maybe? That is the question that rings in my mind. And that is the passion that drives me. My message would be, don't lose heart. Always research. Always find your way out. Don't trust one protocol. Try. Something may work for you. Connect with people and try something that you may not even have imagined. Like, I never imagined meat would work in my condition. It was absolutely anti medical protocol and it worked. So trust meat. Meat heals is my message. I had also written that on my Twitter. So these are two words: meat heals. You try that. Well, most situations it works, except for very, very rare ones. So try a carnivore diet, try a high protein diet, go low carb. Most metabolic health problems are put into remission by going low carb, like Dr. Birjan himself is doing right now. So that is my message, Dr. Birjan.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your story, and I can I can totally understand like what you
Yeah.
have been through for
Thank you
being
so much for having me, Dr. Birjan. It's such a pleasure to have you. And I look forward to seeing you in the Metabolic Health Conference, India,
perfect. Thank you. I'm
and our
excited
session
and
together.
I'm looking
Thank you.
forward. So I'll see you very soon. You take care, you stay safe, and your missus don't fear protein, meat heals, right?
Yeah, me too.
Thank you. I'll see you soon. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.